if it is being terminated, if it is being murdered, that is murder only. There is no other word to replace it.
Something we need to ask ourselves, is the message of pro-life today, is it getting lost in today's reality in Catholic Church?
And then what happened during crucifixion? The Jews told, crucify him, crucify him. Now what the world is telling, abort him, abort her.
Dear brothers and sisters in Christ Jesus, welcome back to the Kevin Mario Show. Before we go into the episode, I want to throw a caution to you that this episode is strictly for adults above the age of 18. And if you are below 18, I would recommend you to sit with your parents, see this whole episode, ask them questions. Before we dig deep into the subject, I want to put forward to you a staggering statistics which will shake you and me to the core. Globally, 62 million people die each year due to pandemic, diseases, tell what not, even wars included in that. But there is an unseen data that 73 million lose their lives in the womb of the mother. I'm saying again, 73 million lose their lives in the womb of the mother. Shouldn't we be talking about it? I'm shocked, just like you. This made me to choose this episode to talk about pro-life, what pro-life is all about, where are we heading? Should not those 73 million be spoken about? We normalize so many things. When somebody is raped, we are so agitated to say that that person should be sentenced to death. But what about those 73 million who lose their lives each year? To talk more about it, I have invited a special guest in the Kevin Mario Show, Sebastian Ashish, the Pro-Life India founder. So he's going to talk more about us on this topic. Welcome, Sebastian Ashish, to the Kevin Mario Show.
Hello, Kevin, and thank you for having me. It's a blessing to be here.
So who is Sebastian Ashish?
Okay, this is a really good question, and even I ask myself each and every day. But that being said, I am the founder of this organization called Pro-Life India, and my journey is basically to spread more awareness on the sanctity of human life. That is the dignity of human life, how life begins at conception, and why it's very important as us as not only Christians, as human beings, for us to fight for that very dignity. Right? And mainly my work is in schools, colleges. I saw your disclaimer, right? Only 18 plus. But I'm really sorry to say this is not only for 18 plus. When the secular world is able to brainwash our children through Netflix and all these other things on my body, my choice, honestly speaking, we go to schools, colleges, 8th standard children, 9th standard children. They are much more aware about this, about my body, my choice. It's just a clump of cells. All these aspects. Even an 8th standard or 9th standard year old child, that is being propagated into their it is being propagated into their minds. So we have to be very, very careful. We have to catch them young. That is why the main focus of my organization itself is to go to schools and colleges, give these awareness sessions, and then empower them with the knowledge so that they can start student pro-life groups and they can do activism on their own with proper guidance with the administration and all that. So one thing I would like to say is, when the secular world is catching them young, they are able to corrupt their minds. We need to give them this education, maybe at the age of, at the 8th standard, 9th standard, at that time itself we need to give them. But one thing which you said is the way with which we put forward, that can be, very, not in a very a boring way, rather in a very gentle and a way with which they can understand. We can kind of put it in that way. But this awareness needs to be given right from teenage. That is very, very important. And that's what the focus of my organization is as well.
Wow. I really I don't know what to say, because you are young and you're able to understand how much life is important, and more than the life in the womb, your thirst, to bring this to reality, to go to schools, to make such effort. Was there any particular moment in your life that you wanted to do this?
Yeah, definitely. I would say I'll just very briefly share my testimony. But before that, one thing I'll say, you don't need a very big testimony in order to fight for this. We know injustice is happening. And once we know injustice is happening, as Christians, as the militant of the church, we are all called to talk about it. But that being said, let me just very briefly tell my journey in the pro-life movement, what triggered me. Actually, this gospel of life, we say, it triggered me at a very young age itself. When I was in 7th standard, I was received confirmation in Divine Mercy Church, Annanagar. Okay, so there was this sister nun from Little Sisters of the Poor. She only taught us confirmation. For confirmation, you will have that special catechism, right? So she only taught us that. Okay, and you won't believe, at that age itself, she just very casually asked, "Do you children know what abortion is? Do you know children? Do you know what happens during
Now,
an
all
abortion?"
this is happening in confirmation class.
Yes, exactly. In Divine Mercy, this sister, I was blessed. That's what I'm telling you. I was blessed. This sister talked about abortions. She said that what is happening, what happens during an abortion. What is happening in India. And then she slowly touched upon sex selective abortions, because at that time, I think this was in 2007, 2008, sex selective abortions was a bit prevalent. Now it is come down.
Really, the sister
Yes.
was allowed to teach this.
Yes.
Wow.
She spoke. She did spoke. I don't know whether she was allowed to speak, but she did have the courage to teach us this. I don't know whether she was allowed, but she did do that. So again, it's a blessing only. So at that moment itself, in my heart, this was very much ingrained very deeply, that abortion is something intrinsically evil. An innocent child, okay, for no fault of its own, if it is being murdered, it is murder only. We have to be clear, right? If it is being terminated, if it is being murdered, that is murder only. There is no other word to replace it. And this at a young age itself, I understood, right? And as I grew, I attended a retreat in Divine Retreat Center in 2011. There, the retreat was conducted by Father Michael Palipali, right? And it was a 5 days retreat. It was a family retreat. Like our family was going through something, so for that we had gone for that retreat. And you won't believe, for almost 2 days, Father Michael Pali spoke only about abortion, pornography, and LGBTQ and contraception.
You're talking about 2011. This being spoken.
Yes, 2011. So for 2 days, Father Michael Pali mainly spoke on these aspects. And one of the incidents that he narrated, one of the live incidents which he witnessed a woman undergoing abortion, or a woman forced abortion upon her, and the traumatic experience she had, the trauma she underwent, right? That changed my life. That just gave me a conviction, or it just told me that, what, this is much more than we think. This evil has prevailed. It has prevailed all over the globe. It's prevailed all over the world.
73 million is no joke.
Million, exactly. And in India, it's 15.6 million. We'll come to that. There is a research study by Guttmaker Research Institute. In 2015, they came forth with the data that 15.6 million. And that's the abortions that we know. Okay, without knowledge, because one thing is, you cannot very exactly calculate the abortion data. A lot of abortions happen within the homes. That is, they go illegally purchase the
I think about,
abortion pills.
Who is going to open up and say that, I've aborted? No.
Exactly.
73 million, I think, is a data which is undermined.
Very
and
true.
I'm very sure that if it has to be real, I
Correct.
think it would be more than that.
It's definitely more than that. It's definitely more than that. Specifically, even in African countries, and in India itself, this 15.6 million number, it is very much downplayed. It's actually much more. Without our knowledge, it's much more. So this is the gravity of the situation. We need to understand. This is the silent genocide, or we call it as the silent crime, right? And the problem is, we aren't talking enough about it. We're all being silent. Oh, it's a sensitive topic. Oh, I need not talk about it. So what I did after listening to Father Michael Palipali, I started speaking with my own family members, okay, with my own aunt, uncle, grandmother. And it was so shockingly surprising for me to see how abortion had invaded in my own family.
It has
In our own
invaded.
Catholic families.
It has invaded in every Catholic family.
So true. I'm challenging your audience specifically. Make it a point. The first way with which you can do changes, go speak to your family members, and then you will realize how many of them they have become victims. I would say they are victims only, because with or without their knowledge only, they've gone into that. So many of them have become victims. Now the question is, what led us to that stage? How did they become victims? That is the very big question, right?
This reminds me of Prophet Hosea and the book of Hosea. My people perish because of lack of knowledge.
Knowledge. So true. Very true.
You
Absolutely.
have to teach them when they are young. And
Absolutely.
I'm so glad that the sister actually inspired. That was the trigger point for you
Exactly.
to start this. So
Exactly.
what, Ashish, you do? You work, or is it a full-time pro-life India?
Yeah, so actually, I don't do Pro Life India full time. I'm a software engineer by profession, but I do travel to places. By the grace of God, my work is flexible, so I'm able to take sufficient leaves. So not only here in Chennai or Tamil Nadu, I travel to Darjeeling, Bihar, many other places. There I go to schools, colleges, I give them the sessions, and we start student pro-life groups. And now very recently, one of the student pro-life groups had organized a March for Life. That is, they had
Darjeeling?
gone, in Darjeeling. They had gone to from their school, they went to the town chanting slogans, abortion is murder, choose life, choose love, okay, baby is a blessing, not a burden. With all these slogans, they went down, and then they to the town folk, and then they organized a pro-life skit, and very beautifully they put forth. So that is what, as I told you, the main focus is to target the youngsters. Once we target them, because the secular world is doing that only, it's catching them young. You won't believe, Kevin, in a show for children, 10 years old, 10-year-old show watched by 10-year-old children, 13-year-old children, they are showing LGBTQ scenes where
I don't want to name the show.
Yeah.
I know this.
where a woman is, I don't want to say that, but that is how the secular world is putting forth. So when they are able to catch them young, what are we supposed to do? We have to educate them at a young age itself. That is why, one very important thing which is lacking in our families itself. I think in the West, they have something known as, did you have the talk? Have you heard of it? Like the parents will ask them, do you have the talk with them? That is, our parents, they don't discuss about this with us. Like what, about intercourse, or what pornography does to your mind. They don't have that open conversation, right? They are doing their own work, the child is doing his own work, so the child doesn't have any ways and means with which he gets to know about all these very pinnacle topics, right? Because of which, what happens, secular world, they indoctrinate with their ideologies into his head, and he starts to believe that
That's
is
the
true.
reality.
That is reality. That is what becomes a very big problem.
So, drawing certain points from what you said, what stands out for me is Catholic Church has instilled in you this very idea that life is so precious.
True.
I can never imagine, even today, in a normal, average Catholic catechism class, I don't know whether they will talk about abortion or stuff, but thanks to that sister, she has spoken exactly when you were receiving confirmation class. I can't imagine that being spoken. Talking of which, I want to, before we dive in big, I just want to ask you that, what does pro-life mean in Catholic sense? What Catholic Church tells? Could you Elaborate on that.
Yes, sure, definitely. So, pro-life, the essence of pro-life, the word pro-life itself means defending life right from the moment of conception. Defending or protecting the sanctity of human life. This doesn't mean only abortion. Okay, anything that is against the sanctity of human life, that will come under the umbrella of pro-life.
Because today people, when they say pro-life, they equate it to anti-abortion.
Mhm.
So pro-life, I believe it's much more than that.
Exactly. So, pro-life in the Catholic sense for the Catholic Church is much more than that. For the secular world, as you said, pro-life means anti-abortion, right? But what the Catholic Church says is, it's very clear that anything that goes against the value of human life, that is anti-life. So, pro-life itself will mean against abortion, against contraception, against pornography, against premarital sex, against surrogacy, against IVF, even against LGBTQ ideologies. All these things will come under this huge umbrella of pro-life. So, when we talk about pro-life within the church, as such pro-life, you will understand that all these 7 topics that I told you, some way or the other, they are interconnected. All of these things are interconnected, and it is of a very dire need that, let alone the church, okay, even if the church is not talking, we are the church militant, right? We need to talk about it. And once, this is what I believe, once we start talking about it, the church will realize, okay, this has invaded our own Catholic families, it has destroyed Catholic families, it is within the Catholic families. Now it's high time we start introducing it in our sermons. It's high time we ask the priest to talk talk about this in the sermons, and spread more awareness about this. Tell them what the church teaches, because as you said, we have a very huge deposit of faith. The church, in fact, there is no other church, I think, no other religion except the Catholic Church that has so much theological elements pertaining to the gospel of life. So many encyclicals, so many theologies pertaining to the sanctity of human life, against
Who
contraception.
can forget about, or it comes to our mind, theology of the body
Very true.
by Pope Saint John Paul II. Now, something we need to ask ourselves: is the message of pro-life today, is it getting lost in today's reality in Catholic Church?
I think it's definitely getting lost. And I won't blame the administration. Don't get me wrong. As you said, the church has now become kind of a corporate. So that's why I'm using the word administration.
Yeah.
But that being said, I won't blame the church hierarchical order, whatever said and done. Because let me tell you, in America, now, in a country like America, where Roe v. Wade was overturned, the Catholic Church did not do anything. Who made it possible? It was the lay people, the people with faith. It was organizations like Live Action. I don't know whether you know, Live Action is a pro-life organization in America, based in America. It was a lay person who started that organization, right? And then it was organizations like Students for Life America, where they went to colleges, schools, started student pro-life groups. Now I'm trying something similar like that here in India. So it was the lay people, right, who decided that, you know what? It's high time that we start talking. This is destroying our community. This is destroying America. So they started this battle 50 years back itself. The lay people started. That's why I tell you, Kevin, let aside the church. We are the church militant now. We have to talk about it. We cannot turn our backs. What did Christ know? I'm reminded of this very beautiful hymn, the world behind me, the cross before me, the world behind me, the cross before me, no turning back, no turning back. Now what it has become is the world before me, the cross behind me, the world before me, the cross behind me, and I'm turning back, I'm turning back. That is what has happened. That is what we are doing, right? This is what very beautifully, Bishop Barron, you might know, he made a statement when many asked him, there is a crisis within the church. How do we tackle that? Bishop Barron also, he recognized this. He said, yes, definitely there is a crisis within the church. Okay. But what is the solution for that is when each and every Catholic decides to live his faith radically. right? The moment you and I, we decide to live our faith radically, at that point, we can expect change. So it lies with us. The power is with us. We can, yeah, definitely we can say the administration is doing this, this priest is not supporting, this bishop is not supporting, this and that. But the question will always lie, me as a Catholic faithful, what power do I have and what can I do? That is why I always try to instigate the youth. The youth, once we tell them this, they are more compassionate. They are able to understand the gravity because they are the ones who are affected by this, yeah. And one very important thing which Father Richie told, I very much resonate, because of the boomers and the baby boomers, they were silent. They were just following. Oh, this priest is telling this. Okay. Oh, this bishop is telling this. Okay. They were just like sheep people, just following. Now the youth are asking questions. They're challenging. Why? Because all these sins of the flesh, we have become victims of it. It has affected us only. Silence has affected us. Silence has affected that culture. So it's high time that we stop being silent. That is the main message that we'll have to put forth.
Before we go into emotional argument, cultural slogans, and all that, could you, not politically, not philosophically, but factually, could you tell what abortion is all about? Because it's not just sin, it is much more deeper and more graver.
So first I'll tell the basic definition of what abortion is. Abortion is the willful termination of a pregnancy, intentional termination of a pregnancy. Okay, abortion is different, miscarriage is different. Okay, miscarriage is when it happens naturally. You don't know the specific reason, but when a child is terminated naturally. Abortion is when you intentionally kill a child in the mother's womb. That is only abortion, right? Now let us just go into some of the abortion procedures, right? You have the first trimester abortion, the second trimester abortion, and then the third trimester abortion. So the first trimester abortion, what happens is, there is something, they take the abortion pill. You would have heard of it, right?
Ipils.
No, IPIL is different.
Okay.
IPIL is, it is more of a contraceptive, but it can act as an abortifacient as well. We will, abortifacient. We'll talk about that later. Okay. It is also similar to an abortion pill, but we'll talk about it later.
Okay.
Now I'll focus on the abortion pill, right? The abortion pill is called RU486. Okay. Now what this does is, there are actually 2 tablets in RU486. Okay. And 2 dosages. The first dosage, you take it immediately. Okay, it's called mifepristone. The name of the tablet is mifepristone, and what it does is, it deprives the baby of oxygen. There is this one hormone called progesterone. Progesterone is what gives the child oxygen inside the mother's womb. So what it does is, it deprives the child of progesterone, and the child suffocates inside the mother's womb, and then it dies. Okay, and then after that, after 48 hours, okay, after this is the first tablet. I told you RU486 is a dosage of 2 tablets, right? After 48 hours, you are asked to take another tablet, okay, called misoprostol. Okay, what this misoprostol does is, the dead child inside the mother's womb, right? It helps in discharging the dead child. That's why they say it's a heavy period and all that. It's actually not a heavy period. It's much more than that. There have been many images where mothers after an abortion, they've taken pictures, and almost you can see this is actually a child in the mother's womb in 12 weeks. Okay, you can see a similar picture like this. Like when the mother, she goes through this abortion.
So that's the miniature model of a 12-month-old, 12 weeks old infant
inside the mother's womb. So this is how the baby looks, right? You can see the hands, legs, all major organs are completely formed except for the lungs. All major organs are completely formed. So this is how the child looks, and slowly it grows. Okay. So just imagine, right? A mother going through this process, the psychological impact it has, right? So it is very, very traumatic. So this is what happens during your first trimester abortion, that is up to maybe 8 weeks, 9 weeks. Suppose if the child is a bit bigger, that is in 12 weeks, 14 weeks, it's a little bit bigger. If the abortion pill cannot be administered, they do something known as a suction procedure. What they do is, they take a suction catheter, they inside it into the mother's womb through the vagina, and then they suck out the child. They suck out the child, and that suction catheter is 10 times more powerful than your normal vacuum cleaner. It is more stronger than your normal vacuum cleaner. So this is what happens in your first trimester, typical first trimester abortion. Next is your second trimester abortion, right? It's like the child is like almost now the size of my palm. Now, when the child is so big, you cannot suck it, or abortion pill won't work. So what they do is they use something known as DNC, okay, or DNE. Okay, so what DNC means, dilation and curettage. Okay, so what they do is they dilate the mother's vagina, and they use sharp instruments like forceps and all these, and they pluck out limb by limb. First they pluck out the hands, and then they pluck out the legs, and then they slowly pluck out the body. And then what the doctor does, he crushes the skull with this forceps. Okay, and then a gray liquid is discharged. Once this gray liquid is discharged, that is when the doctor is sure that the brain has been destroyed. That gray liquid is the brain of the child.
The gray matter.
Yeah, the gray matter. Exactly. And once that gray liquid comes only, the doctor knows, okay, my procedure is complete. The child is completely dead now. Then what they do is they remove all these things, and then they assemble it in a kind of like a petri dish, kind of in a plate. They assemble it, and they see whether all body parts have been taken out, and they assemble that child. And then suppose if something is missing, what they do is they use something known as a curette, and then they use this curette to scrape the uterus and to clean whatever remaining fluid is left. This is the actual procedure that happens during an abortion. And then the latest is the third trimester abortion. We call it as heart attack abortions. That is 36 weeks, right? 36 weeks and all. What they do is they inject something known as dioxygen, okay, into the mother through her stomach. Okay, they inject that injection through her stomach, and what happens is this injection goes directly to the heart of the child. Okay, and the child dies of a heart attack. They call it heart attack abortions. And then the child is delivered dead.
Wow.
This is what happens in your third trimester abortion.
Wow. It's actually, sitting here, hearing, and then the image of all of this going, it is really, really traumatic. Even a simple cut in our hand, it pains to the core.
True.
And we are so not worried about such a thing happening just because it doesn't have a voice.
True, very true.
Just because it doesn't have a voice,
Very true.
we are okay to destroy it.
Very
and
true.
and what you've told so far up to third trimester, it is actually a cold-blooded murder in the womb of the mother.
Very true.
And I'm trying to get some air because not heard of it.
Correct.
Yeah, certainly the images keep coming up, and because it is gory, even they stop putting this up and say that this is sensitive content, and
Exactly.
and they will have all kind of pornography up and up going, and things like this. They don't want to know about it. Oh, it is disturbing.
True,
Yeah,
very true.
go on, Sebastian.
Yeah, so that's why I told you, Kevin, in the beginning itself, you don't need a very big testimony in order to talk about this. Once any human being with a pious heart knows what abortion is, automatically they are touched by it. Automatically they're touched by it. This is what we see. And now the question is, should you be the voice? No, for that scripture very clearly says, no, speak for those who cannot speak for themselves. Proverbs, right? And we become the voice of justice for them. That's why, when I'm talking about abortion, I always draw it parallels to Christ's crucifixion. What happened during Christ's crucifixion? An innocent person was crucified. Christ, who was innocent, he was sacrificed. What's happening during an abortion? An innocent child is murdered. Okay, Christ was betrayed by his own people, by his disciple.
Own mother.
Exactly. In abortion, what is happening? The child is betrayed by her own parents, mother and father, right? And then what happened during crucifixion? The Jews told, crucify him, crucify him. Now what the world is telling? Abort him, abort her. That is what the world is telling.
See, one more argument they put forward is, it is my body, it is my choice. Okay, I'm willing to do what it takes. And this show, you and me are talking. One thing they put is, What is your role? You impregnate a woman, and it is I who carry it for 9 months. And do you have a choice? Unless you bear it, you have the right to speak about abortion or no abortion. You who don't know about menstruation cycle, I understand that it's the woman who carries the child in the womb, or because I'm blessed to have a wife and then a kid. I know what my wife underwent during her pregnancy period. It is painful. It is
True,
it
true,
is it is a pain. It's something which she carries.
true.
um but this is the narrative, I'm going to carry. You men, you stay away.
Correct.
I was seeing the protest in America, where they say that, oh, men, you have vagina, you talk about it. You just don't talk about what we have to do with our body. Now it comes to like, hey, it's my body, it's my choice.
No uterus, no opinion.
No
That is the
uterus, no opinion. Exactly. That is the narrative. And you call it, feminism, women's freedom. Come on. What if the aborted child is a woman?
exactly.
What kind of hypocrisy is that?
True, very true. So I'll just answer. There are different layers to what you said, and the first question that I would like to answer is: this entire battle is on when life begins. Okay, the main claim by them is it is not life; it is only a clump of cells.
Cells.
If that is the case, even you are a clump of cells, even I am a clump of cells. Every one of us are a clump of cells. Okay,
They
we are
forget
just a
that-
bigger.
They forget that it is a living thing.
Exactly,
Which
it is
means
a.
it has life.
Yeah, so true. And that being said, what does science say? We have to be very clear, right? With whatever data is available now, there was a study put forth by Chicago University, and you had both pro-life biologists and pro-choice biologists. Okay, so what what these pro-life and pro-choice biologists came to a conclusion is that with whatever data is available with us, life begins at conception. Because at the moment of conception itself, a new DNA is being formed. So, the very basic response for my body, my choice, the pro life response is not your body, not your choice, not your DNA, not your choice. Because it is a completely different DNA. Now, I have a different DNA, you have a different DNA. That's what makes us unique, right? The DNA of a mother and the DNA of a child is completely different. So, first we have to understand that it is a completely different human being. It is a human being. It's a completely different human being. Now, coming to the second aspect, men cannot talk about this. Men have no right in this, right? My first question itself: how do babies form? With only with the involvement of a man, a child is put forth, right? And now also bringing into that question, what happens is when you say a man cannot talk about this, when we see our own Indian history, okay, to talk against injustice, you don't need any gender, you don't need race or anything. If injustice is happening, anyone can talk about it. Best example is Sati. Who spoke out against Sati? It was a man only, Raja Ram Mohan Roy. What was happening? Injustice was happening against women. Even women did not speak out against it. Okay. In fact, speaking, as far as I know, it was a woman who on her own, she went and fell in the pyre, and that kind of became a norm. And it was only a man who spoke out about against it, right? The same thing with slavery. Abraham Lincoln, he was a white person, right? He was the one who freed the slaves. He was the one who was against slavery. Otherwise, even now, I think slavery would have been the norm in America. So, one thing which we need to remember is to speak out against injustice, gender, caste, or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Now, just imagine, I am someone from an upper caste and I speak for someone from a lower caste. If someone from the lower caste says, hey, he's from an upper caste, why is he talking for me? Do we say that? When we can equate it on that grounds as well, in that grounds, then the same thing will apply here as well, right? And I will tell you, men need to talk about this, because abortion not only affects a woman, it also psychologically impacts a man as well. We have to remember, once a man, suppose he knows a woman is aborted, the amount of trauma that he undergoes is so immense, and we have to talk about this as well. even the woman goes through trauma, and even the man goes through a trauma. And if we don't address that, if you what modern feminism has been successful in doing is it has pitted men against the women, right? It has made men as perpetrators and women as victims. That is why you have all this my body, my choice, you have no opinion, because they see as women they see men as some kind of a villain figure. That is what is there. So a lot of things we'll have to address when we specifically talk about this. There are like a lot of layers.
Wow. I understand that. Yeah.
Mhm.
As men today, what I see is that we are reluctant to talk.
True,
We are feeling shy to talk.
true,
We think that we become unpopular
true,
if we talk.
true.
I don't know when I'm going to take reels out of this talk show and I'm going to post this video. How many are going to see? I don't know. How many are going to unfollow or unsubscribe? I don't know about it. But that is the cost we have to pay. To speak for the truth, we need to be unpopular. Jesus was unpopular.
Exactly.
And that is exactly what today we need to do. So talking about, abortion, all those things, what's the stat of India? What's the statistics say about India?
Okay, so first I will cover like how many abortions happen in our country. I think we already discussed about it. 15.6 million,
Out
according
of
to
73 million
Exactly,
abortions taking place in
exactly.
a year globally.
Almost 15 to 20% of abortions happen in India itself. That is the reality, and that too, this is the data with which we know. Without our knowledge, there are a lot happening as well. So this is the reality of abortion in our country. And also, there was this one study that came out in 2021 by Pew Research Center.
Yeah.
Okay. So what they did is they did a survey. They started asking people, okay, what their opinion on abortion was, and then accordingly they came to a conclusion. And when they came to a conclusion, they found out that 55% of Indians say that abortion is morally wrong and abortion should not be legal. 55% of Indians. Just imagine 5% majority. So 50, the majority of Indians, they do realize that morally abortion is wrong. So now the question is, if the Indian diaspora, the Indian crowd as a whole, they feel that abortion is wrong, then why is this not being put forth, or why is this purposely being censored, like how you told? Because what is happening is the mainstream media or whoever they are, they have put forth this as a sensitive topic, and we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to be open about this, and because of us not talking about it, evil has started to pervade. It is
I also see that the videos which you share in Instagram, some are purposely.
exactly, they're
Purposely
shadow banned.
shadow.
Some of our videos are very much shadow banned. We have I almost sent mail after mail to Meta saying that I have these many followers, 1,500 odd followers. None of my videos are reaching my own followers. What is the problem? And no,
They
we
don't have
get-
problem pornography reaching 1 million here.
exactly, they promote that. And on the other hand, when such a very pivotal message is being put forth, no, this is something very emotional, this is sensitive, and it's being barred on purpose. But that being said, I do find some hope, because youth themselves are slowly, they're becoming open to this, or they're becoming aware about this. And my request would be, yes, you're becoming aware about it, you know the harms about it, okay, but gain that confidence and courage to speak out about it. Small reels, small reels, small videos, they can definitely create a very big impact. So it all starts with these small efforts that we do.
So when we talk, when you're speaking about that 55%, they say that abortion is murder. They don't advocate that.
Correct.
Why in reality we find this huge numbers? 15.6 million is no joke.
That's a very beautiful question. What happens is, majority of these women or families, they are very gullible, or they're no, and what happens, society pushes it on them. One, okay. Second is fear element, and third is sometimes even the doctors tend to mislead them, okay. And the main aspect is societal element only. Okay, so let's take a case of a unplanned pregnancy, right? Suppose a woman, she has a relationship with her boyfriend. somehow they get pregnant. Not somehow, we know how they get pregnant, but still they're not planned for it. And she gets pregnant. Now, what is running in her mind is, what will my parents say? Do I have the support needed? Right? Now, will I be able to complete my education? And all these questions are only running in her mind. Okay. And this is where we need to create a support system for a woman, saying that, you know what, you're not alone. You can finish your studies while giving birth. And no issues. If you're not able to take care of your child, there is a chance for adoption. You won't believe, to adopt one child, there are more than 15,000 applications. Okay. There is like 20 million applications in the waiting list to adopt a child in our country. That's why adoption is very difficult, because to get a child, it's very difficult. You have many parents to adopt, but you don't have children. That is the problem. So these things, we'll have to create an awareness. We'll have to give the confidence and the support that a woman requires, or that is very much needed, so that she can take an informed decision. And many of this decision that they are taking is out of fear and out of misinformation.
I
That
think
is the root cause.
here Catholic Church can actually play an active part. Let's say that a woman is pregnant before marriage.
Yeah.
Church always welcomes everybody.
True. Very true.
And
Very true.
and God is merciful. You
Very
just
true.
turn back and you are forgiven with a repentant heart.
Very true. Very
And these cases are more, when they face such a crisis, our church should say that if you are facing such a problem, you are welcome here. Baptize them.
true.
Speak to the parents. Send out people.
True.
Tell them the message of Christ. Welcome them. Therefore, those who didn't know Christ, those who conceived without any sacrament of marriage, they can be sanctified through the baptism of Jesus Christ, baptism of the Holy Spirit.
Holy Spirit.
So I think this way, I was just thinking that church could actually play in a role of changing the society, bring them in a structured format. The society would say that your child was bad, she had an immoral life, but here the church says that, you turn back,
Correct.
you come to my fold,
Correct.
I will be the shepherd.
True.
And I will take care of you.
True.
So I think that's one point which the church can do. And talking about, you're talking about the various aspects, and you spoke about doctors misleading also. See, today when my wife was pregnant, I don't know, I spent nearly 30,000, 40,000 about tests, and all those tests were about growth scan, this scan, whether the heart is there or not, whether the face is developed or not, whether the brain is developed or not. So that makes me wonder, what is the purpose of doing all of this? Okay, you want to basically check the heartbeat is fine. Okay, and today I'm thinking, like, the whole point of knowing all this is paving way to know whether the child will be normal or abnormal or Down syndrome.
Exactly.
And the moment you know that the child is going to be abnormal or it's going to have a problem, they can abort it.
So true. That too, we call this as prenatal diagnosis. No, they try to do that, and what happens is, even if the couple, if they are a bit open-minded, okay, we will try to ensure that the child, we can try and give a child a good life. Even if they have such a mindset, the doctors scare them. No, the child won't have a good quality of life. The child won't be able to face this, that. Majority of the time, this is being pushed by the doctors onto the parents, and parents they become jittery. Because they're gullible. I told you in the beginning, they're gullible. They don't know about it. Okay. This is where we have to very strongly even educate some of the doctors. Educate the doctors on this, and also tell them however the child is, whether it's deformed or whatever it is, that child is still special. A child, even with Down syndrome, is definitely special. It is made in the image of God. Right? So that being the case, also I think you would have heard about Paralympics, right? Paralympics, we've seen how many disabled men and women winning gold, silver medals. So just imagine if their parents would have decided, okay, my child does not have a limb, my child does not have an arm, my child has Down syndrome, let me abort the child. Then that child wouldn't have won a gold or a silver medal in Paralympics, right? So that is what gives, we have to give the right information and not uh, entice them with fear. That is what is happening. We're all enticing them with fear, and they tend to choose a wrong, they are influenced by wrong misinformation, I would say, and they tend to make a wrong decision. So that is the pivotal aspect.
Quite true. Quite true. Today people need to consider that life is life.
Yes,
Perfection is something which the world has coined today.
true.
And especially you see Instagram, a perfect body should be this way.
Yeah, true.
So
That's
so much
sad.
of this
That's so
narrative of
sad.
being perfect in your exterior is much more. I used to wonder, like, hey, how many of us are fully abled, are still sick within, abnormal within? You talk about people with abnormalities in the womb. How about so many people with various kind of abnormalities in their all their capabilities and abilities they have? Some
True.
are weird, some are psychos. There are so many people we see.
True.
That's being okay, but then the child in the womb, which is it's not also 100% sure that the child is going to be Down syndrome.
Exactly.
There are cases where I know that the doctors said that the child will be Down syndrome is normal.
Exactly. I was about to come for that point. To that point, majority of the prenatal diagnoses, they are not accurate at all. The accuracy percentage is very, very low. And as you said, there is a very huge or there is a very huge possibility for the child to be normal, right? And that being the case, right? Even if the child has Down syndrome, that child is special, because there is one study that came forth saying that children with Down syndrome are much more happier than you and I. That is the truth. Okay. So when they are happy with themselves, who the hell are you and I to say that they won't have a good quality of life?
So we decide.
Yeah, exactly. We become God, right? That becomes a problem. In America, 65% of Down syndrome children are aborted in the mother's womb itself. I don't know the exact number for India, okay? But in America, this is the number. I don't know for India, we don't have the statistics, but just imagine 65%, much more than majority, It's a huge majority, they say, or a major majority. So this is definitely a very big problem, Kevin. And I think, the value of life, the joy these children, even these disabled children bring, all these things need to be highlighted in mainstream media, or they need to be told to people in some way or the other. That's why I told you, it's high time we start talking. We have to be vocal about this. We need more and more organizations talking about this on a very frequent basis, educating people despite whatever opposition we get. Yeah.
There is one more argument which I'd like to put forward here. Why should a woman carry in the womb after she's being raped, incest, where she had no choice, that she was forced, she was raped? Why should she carry the child? That's the argument.
True. And this is actually, like one of the most common and arguments, or I won't say common, rather very emotional arguments. People become emotional once we tell this, right? Anyone, because one thing we need to understand, rape is one of the most traumatic things any human being can go through. Any woman, it's like one of the most greatest forms of trauma a human being can go through. And that being said, right, I feel the perpetrator, that is whoever commits that rape, right, he needs to be held to the highest contempt of law. That is, he needs to be given the highest punishment that is feasible in law, and he needs to be properly punished. Okay, first question is that happening in our country? Okay, and the second question here is, I would like to put forth a question to you. Okay, now let us say that there is a 2-year-old child. Okay, now the father is there. Okay, the father murders the mother. Okay, will you give sentence for that 2-year-old child, or will you give sentence for the will you give punishment for the father?
Obviously, the father.
The father, right? So why not the same apply in this case? Who is the perpetrator? The perpetrator is the father. right? And the victim, the child is also a victim. Just like how the mother is a victim, here in this case, the child also becomes a victim. For no fault of its own, the child is in the world.
So the
right?
child is punished along with the father, the perpetrator. Today, even the perpetrators walk free.
Exactly. In abortion, in cases of rape, what happens? Very recently also, there was this one case. Even after 6 months of them filing a complaint, a rape case complaint, no action was taken by the police. Okay, rather they were all advocating for abortion. Go for an abortion. Go for an abortion. So what is happening is, like how you said, the one who committed crime, he is let go scot free, but the innocent child, who is also a victim in this process, he or she is being murdered. Okay, so now this is one aspect. Now the second aspect we see is, now let us focus on the mother. Okay, now I told about the child, let me focus on the mother. Now, for any traumatic experience, there is always a process of healing and there is always a process of destruction, right? Now my question is, rape has happened, the trauma has been inflicted, and that trauma is like, it is so traumatic for her. Now what is the next step, right? Is abortion a solution? Will abortion erase the trauma of rape? That is the question we have to ask. Abortion won't erase the trauma of rape. It will add more to the trauma of rape. Now, let us say that I somehow have an accident, I fall down, I have a very big hurt here in my hand. Okay, will I apply ointment to that wound, or will I take a compass and will I keep pricking on it? What will I do? I'll apply ointment to that wound, right? So the question is abortion the ointment, right? No, it adds more to the trauma, because what happens to in an abortion? You saw what happens in an abortion, right? And just imagine a woman going through that. She was already very brutally raped, and despite that, now again she goes into a very traumatic procedure, which is abortion. It adds to her trauma. She becomes it adds to her trauma, and it further destroys a part of her soul. No, so that is why what we say is we have to go towards healing. Now you will say, how is her giving birth to the child healing, right? Here is where I would like to first quote a very beautiful scriptural verse. I think today morning, as I was just meditating on the Gospel of John, I saw this Gospel, chapter 16, verse 21, right? Very beautifully it says, that is, a mother undergoes so much pain during labor, pain and trauma during labor. But once the child is born, she's overcome with joy because she gives birth to a new life. The same thing happens even in any case, rape, incest. Once she gives birth, she becomes tender. She's like, oh my God, this is what I've brought into the world. I've brought into the world a new life. Her viewpoint has changed. No mother will ever say after the child is born that she regrets her child. No mother with a proper psychiatric health will say that, oh, my child was a mistake, or I hate my own child. Once the child is born, you can find that motherly love. And also what we see is in many of the cases, right? Even in the cases of rape, very recently I was working in a case in Bihar. Okay, what happened is this lady was raped by someone, and she was more than 24 weeks. So she approached a law firm to get an abortion. And the sister was like slowly, the sister worked in this NGO, okay? And none. And then she was slowly trying to convince her. She was telling, you wait, I will get you in touch with someone who can explain to you more about this, okay? And she got in touch with me, and I am in touch with a crisis pregnancy helpline. There is a national crisis pregnancy helpline run by our own fellow Protestant brothers and sisters, okay? So I told sister, just wait, I'll get her in touch with a counselor, okay? And when this counselor from this pregnancy helpline spoke to her, she was able to find out that she was in no position, or she herself, that is this mother herself, she did not want an abortion. You know what she told? She herself said, no, if I have an abortion, for me not to get pregnant in future is more. So no, I don't want to have an abortion. And then we asked, okay, what drove you, or what drove you to this decision, right? That is when she said, what had happened is they had filed a complaint in the police station. The cops had not taken any action. For almost 6 months, the cops had not taken any action. Because of which, what happened? Her husband chased her away from home. So what she said is, I so very desperately want to go back to my husband, want to go back to my family. So I thought this is the only way. Right? So they are forced into that situation. It is not their innate or their first emotion. Right? They are rather forced. Even during the cases of rape, incest, options are not being given to them. Right? This is an option where you can give up your child for adoption, and then your child can have a really good life in someone else's home. Right? So now what has happened is she has chosen life. She's in a crisis pregnancy center somewhere, I think in Lucknow. And then now she's due. I don't know when she's due, but she's due, and she's willing to give up the child for adoption.
Wow.
So that is what I want to very clearly tell you, that we have to go towards healing.
At
And
least
the question,
don't, you don't want to parent the child. It's okay.
Exactly.
At least allow the child to live.
exactly,
At least somebody could adopt.
exactly,
Somebody is in grave need of
Grave
a
need.
child.
So
They
true.
want to adopt child.
So
At least
true.
give them the option to
Options.
live. You
So
are
true.
giving no options. You are just destroying lives in the
So
womb.
true, so true. And another aspect to the situation is, see, the way with which a child is conceived does not reduce the value of life. What I mean by this is, let me give you 2 sonograms. Okay, I will give you 2 sonograms, and I will tell you, out of these 2 sonograms, one child was conceived out of rape. Can you guess which child it was? Will you be able to do that?
I can't.
So what does it mean? Life is life, right? However it is however it might be conceived, the cruel nature, it might, even if the nature might be cruel, right, it is still made in the image of God. That is why we say life is life. So this is another very pivotal aspect that we need to remember. Abortion is never a solution for whatever case we might say. Abortion will only lead to destruction. It adds to the trauma. Further, that too, there is this one study that says that women who have had abortions, there is an 80% chance for them to abuse alcohol, drugs, to be suicidal, to go into depression.
Because the guilt that they have.
Guilt and the process, Kevin, the process with which they go through. I told you, right, all the abortion procedures. Imagine when a woman goes through that. What happens in the second trimester abortion? She's dilated. She's just sitting there. The doctor for 2 hours performs these procedures on her. What is going through her mind? What her body is going through? It's not just like, happens like this. No.
I think like you said, the mother, she should be given this choice. Like, come on, this is what you need to hear. That what grows inside you is life.
Exactly.
Just like you have everything, it has everything. Like you showed that miniature. That's how it is. I think if one could really value human, they would never do that.
Exactly. And the word which you used, rather than choice, I would say empowerment. She needs to be empowered with the knowledge.
But today we are empowering them with the knowledge to kill.
Exactly. That is what is happening. And we need to empower them with that knowledge so that they make a informed decision. Okay, whatever it is, as you said, the decision is up to the mother. What this crisis pregnancy helpline and what we as pro-lifers, we do is, we empower them. We give them this information, and then we pray that they make the right choice. And once you empower them with this decision, you empower them with this knowledge, then automatically they themselves, their heart softens and they tend to take the right choice. But that being said, there are many cases where they also tend to choose abortion, and when that happens, even we should not be heartbroken. Sometimes when we are handling these cases, we become emotional and we become heartbroken. Then we have to understand, okay, it's up to God. This has happened. Let us still keep praying for that mother so that she comes back to us. She repents of whatever has happened.
She makes right in the eyes of
exactly.
God. But
she
talking
finds
on
healing.
this aspect, a person made a choice that she wants to abort. Are there any cases where, after they do the abortion, they undergo any kind of psychological trauma or something like that?
Yeah.
There are cases where you have witnessed where the mother is going through this, and there is also a chance that she may not conceive again also.
Exactly. One is it has heavy mental trauma to her because, as I told you, the process itself and the life is going out of her, right? So the amount of mental trauma it creates, she tries to escape from that reality. Because of which, what happens? They get addicted to drugs, they get addicted to alcohol. 80% of post abortive women, they tend to misuse alcohol, they tend to get addicted to drugs, they tend to uh, have suicidal tendencies. They go into this very deep state of depression. So it has a very resounding impact. Okay. That being said, now let us come with the that is the physiological changes, right? One is a woman who undergoes an abortion, there is a huge chance for her not to become pregnant in future. I'm not saying that she won't, okay? The possibilities are more.
Yeah.
Because scientifically speaking, a woman can only have 2 miscarriages. Above that, the chances for her to conceive becomes very less. I don't say that she cannot conceive, but the chances slims down, okay? That being said, there was a very recent study in the Indian subcontinent where it found that post-abortive women are more prone to breast cancer. Post-abortive women, for them to get breast cancer is more. Okay. And also one thing which we need to understand, Kevin, you know what happens during this thing, that is, no, they say, right, whenever a mother conceives, the moment of conception itself, she becomes a mother. Okay. Whether she decides to keep the child or she doesn't decide to keep the child, she is a mother. Okay. If suppose she has an abortion, then she becomes a mother to a dead child.
See, that's why, in our culture, the moment the woman is conceived, the look of her is completely changed. You mean the way which the family sees her itself changes.
Exactly.
We are blessed to live in such a culture, but again, 15.6 million is actually
so true. As you said, the majority of the culture is like that. In Hindi also you have this word, I don't know whether you've heard, they call badai ho. Once they hear the news someone is pregnant, they say badai ho. That means congratulations. No? So that is the culture specifically. But even when the majoritative culture is on this aspect, this is also happening. And why it is happening is because we are silent. That is the main. I think Charlie Kirk very beautifully says, the more you don't talk about something, the more you are silent about injustice, the more you are allowing it to happen. That is why we need to talk. We need to exchange
the silence of the people around, when somebody like Jesus was on the cross crucified, I think the silence is more cruelsome than the perpetrator who does it.
So true. Very true. Very true. That's why I say, when you become silent, we become perpetrators ourselves. That's
so they go through a lot of trauma like this. Have you come across case where?
Definitely there have been many cases where there was this one case as well. I'll just very specifically say what happens is this woman, she starts blaming herself. They go into this very deep state of guilt. They become victims. They call it victimhood mentality, right? But that being said and done, no sin can, every sin can be forgiven, right? And no sin, every sin can be forgiven and it can be repented. The main answer is repentance. Every sin has forgiveness in the foot of the cross. And once a mother, from the bottom of their heart, they understand the gravity of the mistake that they've done and they seek repentance. Okay, what I've done is something wrong. And they seek for forgiveness. And then you do a very good confession, right? That is the process of healing. And the church offers healing. This is what we have to do. The sacraments offers healing. Many women I've known, they've come out of the situation only through the sacraments, only through healing. That is healing that the church offers. This is where the church plays a role, right? This is where Christ plays a role, because no sin is greater than the sacrifice which Christ made for the cross. Christ made that sacrifice for us only, right? So that we have to first understand. And the thing should be is like you repent and then you turn a new leaf. And once that happens, I've seen many women who have had abortions and then who have repented it and now have become the banter for the pro-life cause. They have become the
Amazing.
support
Wow.
for the pro-life cause. Many Indian women itself, Indian testimonies, in our Indian pro-life movement itself. So this is something that we need to talk about as
These stories must go on,
Definitely.
especially women who have aborted, who are now advocating life. These
Definitely.
stories must be published. Now, on the other side, it all boils down to this one thing, Sebastian,
Mhm.
that, hey, you're talking about abortion and all that. That's something which happens as a result of sex. We are living in a digital medium. Even before the digital medium came, everything was hypersexualized. For example, why on a cracker box a woman must feature? Nobody knows. For example, you take a movie, a crime thriller. I don't know why there has to be a sex scene there. Or you take recent Tamil movies, the subject is totally different. You need to have an item song. So you add glamour to it.
True.
You add all these, temptations for having a greater entry into sexuality. You
Correct.
see this, you entice it, and then it becomes a sin.
Correct.
So today, the youth around are all the time, channelized, or it is all sexualized. And this leads to something called as, have sex, but don't be responsible. Now that is where contraception comes into play.
Correct. So true.
And to tell you one fact, I had a conversation with one of my friend. You sell a condom, 40 to 60% is the profit.
So true.
And what you do? 40 to 60%. And every day like 12 to 15 packets is being sold.
True.
This is where it is right now. That I want to have sex, but then I don't want the child.
Child. True. So true.
Take us through this.
This
Because it is also part of pro-life
Correct.
that you contracept.
contracept. What do you mean by contracept? Contraception, trying to prevent conception. And this is a very common idea, right? Many say, okay, you don't want abortions. That means you have to be in favor of contraceptions because contraceptions prevent abortion. This is the mainstream idea, right? But this is actually something wrong. Why I will tell you is none of the contraceptives are 100% efficient. Even condoms, they are only 85% efficient. So, let's say that 100 people use condoms, there is a possibility for 15 people to get pregnant. Okay, so now we have to see what is the root cause of the mentality for contraception. That is, you don't want to have a child. That is why you are using contraception. Now, what happens? You use contraception, but somehow a child is formed. Now, what is the next stage you are drawn towards?
Abortion.
Abortion. That is what. So, the root cause for abortion, if you see the root cause for abortion is contraception. That is why the church, the Catholic Church, we have immense n number of dogmas, we have n number of encyclicals that completely talk against or admonish contraception. Why? Because this Humanae Vitae very beautifully says that the main aspect of marriage is both procreative and unitive. You cannot separate both these things. That is, in a conjugal act, you have to take both procreative aspect of the conjugal act and the unitive aspect, both go hand in hand. And also in Casti Connubii, that is a document before Humanae Vitae, put forth by Pope Paul VI, Humanae Vitae. Before that, there was this encyclical called Casti Connubii, put forth by Pope Pius XI. Even that says procreation is the primary purpose of marriage. Here is where the idea of marriage comes. When you don't understand what marriage is, when you see the sexual act as a pleasure element, then that is when you use contraception, right? Even when married couples use contraception, why do they use contraception? Because they feel, okay, sex is just something, it is of the flesh, it is just we exchanging fluids. That is what they think. That is wrong. What the scripture says, through marriage you become one in flesh. And that is what we need to understand. And what is the primary purpose? The primary purpose is procreation and education of children. The secondary purpose, which Casti Connubii says, is that is remedy for concubines, controlling lust. So all these things will come in the secondary purpose. This is why the Humanae Vitae document was so pivotal in the Catholic Church. Why? Because that was a time when many within the church itself, they were justifying contraception. That is the time when sexual revolution was at its peak. Okay. And everyone, even the Anglican Church in 1920s, they said, okay, faithful can use contraception. But still, whatever said and done, the Catholic Church did not fall for that. And the document Humanae Vitae, it codified the original teachings of the Church that maintained the procreative aspect of marriage. One of the main important, I think, even now, no, we very downplay the procreative aspect of marriage. We kind of say that no, it is all about the flesh. It is more about unity. Yes, correct. Unitive aspect is there, but it is very clear that procreation and unitive aspect go hand in hand. So this once you remove this procreative aspect and you see it more of no, being a pleasure element, something that induces pleasure, that is when contraception comes to play. Our idea of marriage itself is distorted. And this is what the church very beautifully says, that procreation and unitive aspect of marriage goes hand in hand. It's just that simple.
Beautiful, beautiful. This defines why God created man and woman at the first place.
True.
Because when we come together, it's complete.
True.
When we come together, it's complete, and we partake in the co-creation of God.
So true.
So that's the aspect of sex today. That is being not taught.
Correct.
Not taught the right way. It's been taught all about so many flimsy way. You go have with so many people. It's all about have sex, but then it is devoid of children. It is devoid of being responsible.
True.
That's how it is driven in media today.
True.
That is where you find that pornographic plays a major role here.
So true. And I'll tell you, when we I'll just tell you a very brief narrative. Okay, what happens is, let's say a 14-year-old 15-year-old child, right? He's exposed to porn. Okay, first what happens, it starts with softcore porn, right? He watches softcore porn, and then what happens, his mind wants more.
Sebastian, softcore porn is everywhere. Right from the
Netflix.
You take the top 10 songs.
Correct.
Okay. Tamil or pop.
Correct.
Look at the lyrics.
Exactly.
It is sexualized.
So true.
It's all the top songs. It's all has to do with sex.
Exactly. So it starts from there. Like how you said, it starts from songs. It starts from all these item songs. It starts from there. Now what he wants more, right? So what, he goes to Pornhub, to mainstream pornography, and then he sees that. Now his mind wants even more. So he starts seeing more of hardcore, this thing, that thing, and then his mind is even more. No, when you watch porn, what happens? Dopamine is you have a dopamine spike. Now the mind wants even more, and now what he wants to try it in real life.
It's all
right?
It becomes carnal.
Exactly.
It is nowhere
So,
unitive.
What he tries to do is, he tries to get into a relationship, convince a girl, or sometimes prostitution, that the mind goes there. And then once he convinces someone, and then he has a relationship, what happens? They have intercourse. And in intercourse, what happens? They don't want the child, right? Because they see intercourse as just a sexual thing, something of the flesh, like how I told you, right? And when it is something of the flesh, what happens? They use contraceptives. And like how I told you, even condoms or any contraceptive for that matter is not 100% efficient. Now, suppose they become pregnant. No, she becomes pregnant. Where does it lead to? Again, abortion. So if you see, pornography, contraception, abortion, all these things are interrelated.
They're
It's
all
just a
the
circle.
same side of the coin.
So true, same side of the coin. So that is why the church, when we say pro-life movement, right, we not only talk abortion, contraception, rather anything that goes against the sanctity and value of human life, anything that I will say deceives your view on sexuality, or perverts your view on sexuality, marriage, anything that goes against this, it will come under the umbrella of pro-life. So this is what we need to very drastically administer.
Today, the work of the devil is to distort the perfection.
True.
So when you remove the whole aspect, when you give only one aspect, it's all going to be like it's for pleasure.
Correct.
Okay, and then there is also another danger where somebody gets married and the only thing they want sex is only for children. You see that
Correct.
that is not an informed teaching also. So today I think that the sex education, especially about this, is not being taught in the church. Especially I've gone through this only a week before my marriage, to get the certificate. But in that period of I finished my 12th and then I enter marriage, that is absolutely void.
Correct.
You get all the teachings of the world,
Exactly.
and you are so corrupt, and then we who are in flesh are always susceptible to fall in the sin of the flesh if our mind is not renewed.
Correct.
If we are not in Christ, one would always make this error. So you are therefore not teaching them catechesis. You are not putting them into right kind of formation, and you see that Catholics today are falling prey to this.
True.
That
Very
there
true.
is nobody who's willing to talk about all these things. And I went to one supermarket. I understand Catholic, yeah, they don't put much worse here and there. I go into the supermarket. This is run by a non-Catholic denomination. I was like, wow, everywhere I see there is scripture verse there. Below the scripture verse, there was a big rack of condoms. And I was like, how can a Catholic, a Christian, sell condoms? Yeah, you have market, that's the market. So you have already sold yourself to the secular world.
Exactly.
You who have to be a responsible Catholic in saying that, no, I'm against this. Okay, you don't speak about it.
Correct.
You have a medical shop. You have all these things. At least refrain from that. See, we neither speak the truth. Okay, neither we resist it.
Correct.
We encourage it. That's the tragedy today.
See, that's what, no, I think we've all just become namesake Christians. We want to put this verse, that verse. What are you practicing? Are you keeping up the commandments of God? That is very, very necessary. No, and that being said as well, no, as you said, 65%, of profit,
40 to 60%
40 to
profit you get from
60%.
condom.
It is all about the money only in the end. Everything you see, that is why they are trying to put forth all these wrong ideas, population control, this and that. That is completely, population control is a myth. Okay, or overpopulation is a myth, right? The main aspect is it has become more of a business. That is what is the main aspect. That being said, now if you see, the fertility index has come down very significantly. For an average population to sustain, the fertility index needs to be 2.1. Now it is somewhere 1.9. In many countries, it's like 1.7. So it is very significantly come down. That's what Elon Musk I think he himself very recently told. We are not facing an overpopulation crisis. We are facing an underpopulation crisis. That is what we are in. So this aspect, it all starts with this very diluted view of what marriage is. What is marriage, or what are we called to do in marriage?
When you were talking about this idea of population, or it came to my mind, 1980s, 1990s in India, this condom started being promoted.
Like, not
And
only
under the
condoms,
guise
Kevin.
of where AIDS was prevalent.
Mhm.
AIDS was prevalent. So to counter it, UN supported us. 1980s, 1990s. I still remember that there used to be just like a telephone booth where you put the money and speak. There used to be condom boxes, and that was being taught all over India. That was being promoted. I still remember seeing in Doordarshan under the name of some detective stories about the awareness of AIDS, and then the solution is condoms, usage of condoms. So instead of teaching people to be chaste, to not have sexual
Abstinence.
relationship outside marriage,
Exactly.
premarital sex, no, to,
Correct.
to instill these values, we failed. And therefore what we say is, yeah, come on, go make your sin, do the error, but then do the right way.
True.
So as a country, I feel that we have actually let down our guard. this was not the country,
True.
the origin of a country. You
True.
you read in Kama Sutra. Now people will tell, oh, you're talking about Kama Sutra, it's all bad. No, if you read the text of it, it like the scripture says, it beautifully talks about that that without dharma, without love, that becomes void.
True.
It beautifully talks about it, and somewhere we have lost that also, and we are, making this hyper sexualized. We are having this good market of 60% profit. You put everywhere, that there are so many things happening underground with regards to prostitution, all that. It's all money, it's all, easy money.
Exactly. And also, I would like to go back, like when, Margaret Sanger, one of the founders of Planned Parenthood. So she actually came to India. She met with Mahatma Gandhi, and she was trying to push forth the idea of abortion and contraception. But Mahatma Gandhi was very clear. He rejected contraception. He rejected both. Okay. He said, what he told about abortion? He told about abortion is, it seems as clear as daylight to me that abortion is murder. This is what Gandhi had to say. And he completely rejected the idea of contraception when Margaret Sanger brought forth to Mahatma Gandhi. So he completely rejected it. So as you said, we our own secular Indians, we have those roots. Okay. And also, that being said, this overpopulation myth kind of spread so drastically that during the 1980s, it was the Indira Gandhi government. No, what they did is they started pushing forth the family planning operations for men and for women. Many women had their uterus removed, and you won't believe, when this scheme was brought forth by the government, by the central government, it was only the Catholic and the Christian women in Kerala who went, oh, okay, let us have our uteruses removed, and they were the ones who had their uterus removed. On the other hand, all these, the Orthodox Hindu women and all the women in Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and all, they were running away. They said, no, we won't do. They said, our womb is our right. No, our womb is something sacred to us. They did not or they resisted it. The government was indirectly forcing, but they resisted it. So this is what we need to understand. No, one thing which you said I really liked. How much has the values of the church been properly passed down or resonated by the faithful? So how much has this values of the church, has the church been able to properly address this and instill these values in our laity, so that they aren't misinformed to take such decisions like how it happened in 1980s?
Certainly, we talk about babies, we talk about contraception. The other problem, married couples today face is infertility, or no children. Let me tell you my story. I got married, and my wish or desire was to have baby immediately. But for some reason, it didn't happen at all. The tragedy now, I'm a Catholic. In the church, whenever I go for function, there is always this indirect stink which comes to me, which is being told to my wife. All Catholic families, all friends, they pressure us, saying that as if they know everything. Today so many people face that. And even I have I work till 11. We work in the UK shift, US shift, and we get our free time only around 11:30, and we go have little snack in Katibar Urban Square, and then come. I still have message on my phone. I put status, and one of the family members said that, what are you guys doing at 12 a.m. going and eating? You see, the pressure becomes real. And this brings, this makes the couples to undergo such kind of trauma which nobody knows. And this makes this 3-letter word relevant today. IVF.
Yeah, actually, this is a struggle. I very much empathize with what you say, because this is a struggle that many modern couples specifically, they go through this, right? And it's very difficult. It's very, very difficult for them. And that being said, they try to do everything in their part, and also they are in a moral dilemma, right? okay, if I do this, is this morally correct? And also they are put in a position where they are yearning for a child, and it doesn't, I mean, they don't get it. And we don't know the reason as well, for specifically for infertility, and they go into this very deep state of self regret and regret, and also I mean, relatives come question them. It is a very big struggle that the couple undergo. And not only you, Kevin, I think like you, many couples in their initial stages, they undergo through this process, right? Now, before I talk about IVF, right, and how this multi-billion-dollar industry is using this gullible nature, or this very innocent aspect, or this innocent need of the couple, how they are using that to make money. Before I go into that, I would like to first talk about infertility. Right now, infertility, it can also be treated by natural means. One aspect is there's something known as NAPRO technology, which the church approves of. Now, what do you mean by NAPRO technology is you first address what is the cause for infertility, okay, and then there are certain corrective surgeries that can be put forth, which can be of remedy, which can help the couple to conceive. One such very example is for men. What happens is the ducts, right? The ducts which which carry the sperm, they are blocked or they become enlarged. So some corrective surgeries can be put forth for that, so that ejaculation is normal and the sperm ejaculation is normal. So these corrective surgeries can be put forth. Now, another thing is diet. By moderating our diet, by the intake that we give,
The lifestyle we live,
exactly, the lifestyle we live,
the food we take,
and all that, sperm count can be increased. Okay, so majority of the fertility problems, it can be addressed by controlling the diet and specifically targeting what the root cause of the issue is. Okay, and third aspect, specifically for women, there is a very big misconception saying that once a woman grows old or becomes old, the amount of eggs that she produces is less, so the chances for them to become pregnant is less, right? That is not true. Okay, it is not about the quantity of eggs, rather it's the quality of eggs. So for quality of eggs, for a mother to produce good quality of eggs, again, what lies? Diet. The intake, food, red meat, and all these things. That's why now we have come into vegan culture, that becomes you completely, what is very much needed, that is not given. Red meat is very much needed, specifically for women who are trying to conceive and who have already conceived, because that is what will give you the strength and then also increase the amount of eggs produced. So red meat is something that's very much needed. So now, talking about all these things, what IVF does, or what
certainly
is
also, you take vitamin tablets, you
exactly
take
supplements.
some struggle with sperm count. There are also tablets which can boost your sperm
Sperm,
count.
true, that's what.
You just need to take care that you take up a test. You know what's happening to your body, and then you do the countermeasure. And
Exactly.
you're all right.
Exactly. So anyway, that said and done, this is also a process, right? This I mean, it is not easy. Again, I agree, it is not easy. I'm not married, but I know, I've seen people, it is not easy. But this is where the divine intervention comes to play. You put your trust and hope in God, and you keep strength in prayer. This is where, and one thing, Kevin, we have to understand, we are not entitled to children. Children is a gift from God.
Gift from God. Exactly.
This is something we need to understand. I know, but sometimes even we tell this message to infertile couples. It's difficult for them, for anyone to
Now,
take
whether
this
fertile
message.
or infertile, that is different category.
Correct.
Every womb is a gift from God.
Exactly.
Every child is a gift from God.
from
Now, this
exactly.
reminds me of the scripture passage. Even before you were conceived in the womb,
I know you. I knew you. I knit you in your mother's womb, and I assigned you the prophet of nations. This is a very beautiful passage. So this aspect we have to understand. Now we will address the elephant in the room, which is IVF, right? So what happens is, uh, these infertile couples, or these couples who are gullible, they face so much trauma from society, and this is used by all these big IVF clinics. What they say, you come, you come to us, whatever kind of a child you want, as you said, no genetically modified child. You want a child who's a musician, you want a child who's this, that, you can have it, right? And I'll tell you what specifically happens in this IVF process. Generally, they take the egg from this thing, from the mother, and the sperm, and then they artificially fuse it. Okay, what happens is, you cannot fuse only 1 or 2 eggs, and since this is a very costly process, they will fuse some 40 eggs. Okay, fertilize. And what we learned in the beginning, life begins at conception, fertilization, right? So what happens, some 40 embryos are formed. Out of this 40 embryos, what they do, only 2 or 4 they implant. Okay, and in this 2 or 4 itself, what happens, there's a huge possibility for almost 1 or 2 to be naturally miscarried. Suppose if natural miscarriage doesn't happen, what happens is, they do something known as selective elimination. That is, let us say they implant 4, all four they get implanted in the mother's womb. The mother's body won't be able to sustain all the 4 children. So what they will do, they will selectively say, okay, 4 have been implanted, you select only 2 you can have, 2 you abort it. So 2 they will selectively remove it.
So it is also an abortion, and
Exactly.
that is why today church is against IVF.
So true. That is why the church is against IVF. And now you see the other aspect. What about the 38 or 37 embryos that were fertilized? What happens to those embryos? They are treated as medical waste. Either they are given as for cryopreservation, or majority of them are treated as medical waste. They are just dumped into all these dumpsters.
Recently, I saw a post on Instagram, probably an advertisement. It was a frozen embryo, and it said that you don't need to worry about the eliminated embryos. You can have them frozen and wear it on your neck.
Next.
What
So true.
kind of tragedy is this?
So true.
You kill, and then you want it to be preserved in some form of what? Of chain or something, or a pendant or something. That is where we are leading today.
That is how life has been. No, the value of life has completely come down. The importance of life. Just imagine, in America and all, they want to save, eagle eggs. To save eagle eggs, there is a law. Okay, when you are not willing to respect human life itself, what are you going to do by respecting the life of an animal or this thing? I seriously don't understand this idea. That's what I told. No, life has become a commodity, Kevin. Life has become it has become a business. That is what IVF has become. And one thing, the process of IVF itself is so traumatic. A woman undergoes through multiple cycles of injections, this, that, and that process itself becomes so traumatic for the for a couple. And the chances, despite them spending 12 lakhs, 20 lakhs, the chances for them still to receive a child is minimal only. It is not, they are not guaranteed a child. Even in IVF, there is a very huge possibility that they cannot, they cannot have a child. That is the main thing which all these modern IVF clinics, they don't address at all. They want to say, because it's a business. They want to say that, that's it, you will have a child, don't worry. But the truth is, there is still a very huge possibility that they don't have a child. Very recently, a Christian couple only, they told me, right, they used IVF. Okay, they put 2 embryos, fertilized egg, inside the womb, mother's womb. And in that, what happened? One was naturally miscarried. One child was naturally miscarried. And then one child, the heartbeat was not detected. They were not able to find the heartbeat, and even that child miscarried. This is what happens. This is, just imagine, already they are going through a very difficult situation
of that they don't have a kid.
Yeah, not having a child. Then you give all the false claims. Come, Aishwarya, what is that? Aishwarya
Vandam Anandam.
I don't know. You come to us, we will give you hope, and you give them a false sense of hope. And then you put them through this very traumatic situation, and then they learn that they cannot, or that has failed, that creates an even bigger trauma, right? And for a family to come out of it, how difficult it is. This is why, when you see life as a commodity, life as something exchangeable, this kind of becomes
See,
our mentality.
an argument which is put forward is, you advocate life. Okay, what is your concern? Even those who are without child, we are giving them a life by saying that there is a possibility for you having a child. So it is actually sugar coated in the form of so much of things which you told, where there is natural selection, there is selection happening, there is discarding, medical waste, and this is where the church very very clearly says that no to IVF, no to surrogacy.
Exactly, because it goes against, when I talk theologically, when you are artificially infusing an egg and a sperm, the second aspect of marriage, that is the unitive aspect of marriage, is completely lost. What does Kasi Konobi says? Pope Pius the 11th, he wrote, primary purpose of marriage is procreation and education of children. But what is the secondary purpose of marriage? That is maintaining concubines and then remedy for remedy for lust. And the main aspect is the procreative and unitive aspect of marriage, that is destroyed in IVF.
Now, this makes me, to ponder over. Are we playing God here?
Absolutely, that's what we're doing. We are playing God only. That's why I told in the very beginning, right? A child is a gift from God. We have to accept it. I know it's difficult, but we have to accept it. Even now, I'm not married, but I do understand the possibility. There is a possibility that even if I get married, suppose, we also go through this, I need to come to terms with reality that, okay, something is not for me. God might have a plan for that. So we have to come terms with that. That is very, very important.
So today, even the embryos, life begins at conception. This reminded me of the recent video that was circulated in Instagram about when the sperm and the egg fuses, there is a light.
A zinc spark. Absolutely.
A spark was seen. So much of about life is being, shown today. And today, this concept of IVF, surrogacy, embryo banks, it has all become like a big market today.
True.
Like you give them a hypersexual mentality, they undergo infertility. Because of that also they undergo infertility.
True.
Pornography can also make one infertile.
So true.
Because you're
so
already
true.
hit with certain degree of dopamine which is unreal.
Exactly.
And you expect everything that is unreal to be real in your real world, which is all false. So therefore a man itself will not be satisfied with his sexual life.
Correct.
And therefore there is a chance that he may be infertile also.
Correct.
Because of his expectations, so many things woven around it.
Correct.
Therefore, today you're looking at, okay, you live a hedonistic life, you live like that, and then have a separate life, have sex for pleasure. Now when it comes to child, you have another option. Let's create child. It's all market. There you see market. Here you see market.
Exactly.
And welcome to the consumeristic world.
Exactly. That's what, Kevin, the main idea, or what the secular world wants to do by introducing all these sins of the flesh, we call the sins of the flesh. What it does is it destroys the basic family unit. It is a threat for the family. Right? All these things that we spoke, abortion, contraception, pornography, IVF, surrogacy, they are all a threat to destroy the basic family unit. Because what does Vatican II say about family? Right? A family is a mini church. Right? A family is only called to pastor. So once you destroy the family unit, the basic family fabric of family unit, morality becomes perception. That is a very big problem.
So tell me, today, we talk about pro-life. We need to talk also about having many kids as well. Having many kids as well. And it is so beautiful, today I see that there are two things I see. One is TLM, traditional Latin mass goers.
Yes.
They don't care about their earning, I know living examples.
I
of
also
them.
know. I know a lot of living
So
examples.
they don't look at, okay, I need to earn this much to have kids, and and they don't care about, they trust in the providence of God, that God will fulfill my need. And
Absolutely.
therefore there are larger families of the traditional Catholics,
Correct.
and I also see the same in Kerala also.
Correct. In Kerala as well.
But somewhere, our Latin right mass goers, what is wrong? Has it become modern now, or the truth is not being told, which is true here?
Oh, one thing which I would say is we have a false sense of faith. Okay, we are not truly faithful. There is something known as to be truly faithful. No, we are just Vandoma Mask. We just come to mass 9 to 5, or just 1 hour I attend. That's it. I go. That kind of becomes our entire mentality.
It's like a tick box. Okay, Sunday,
exactly.
tick the
Sunday
box.
means I need to just go to mass. Okay, we don't live our faith. No, see, one very important aspect with the church says is, for you to be saved, you need to have faith. You need to live by the commandments of the God. No, CCC is very clear. You need to live by the commandments of God. So, are we willing to do that? That needs to be in practice, right? And when you ask me why this is more prevalent in the Latin church, or now in our Novus Ordo, I would say, or post-modern church, I think, as you said, is the church here has failed. I'll agree. I'll definitely agree to a certain extent. The church here has
I
failed.
agree, because when was the last time in sermon?
Exactly.
Hey, we celebrate so many Sundays which is dedicated to the poor,
Correct.
to the injustice caused. There is Dalit Sunday.
Correct.
There are so many Sundays which is being celebrated.
Correct.
Is there a Sunday for 73 million babies being killed? I'm registering again and again. 73 million annually children are killed in the
Children are
womb.
killed. So
Do
true.
you have a separate Sunday? Do you? I've never heard in my life in the sermon about these things which we are talking about. I never knew this. I never knew this. Only when I went to retreat, when I with retreat, I would have heard that. I heard that. And of course, when I saw you in LSS, Ajin and Sister Paulina, so explicitly talking about these things, about pro-life, about that life is a gift of God.
Correct.
So this, we don't hear it in sermons.
True.
So you want to hear this,
Exactly.
which is the fundamental teaching of the church.
True.
You need to go for these places.
Exactly.
When our church will start being prophetic. Now this makes me to put one more word next to, I told you, P, prophetic. Are we become prophetic, or the church becoming political?
Exactly. That being said, the church is very much becoming politically correct only. And one thing which you very said, no, once you talk about this once the priests decide to talk about this during their sermons, right? Even these so-called lukewarm Catholics, lukewarm Christians who come to church only on Sundays, it will make them feel uncomfortable. Yes, but a seed is implanted in their heart. With or without your knowledge, you're implanting a seed in their heart. And even if they don't agree at that moment, right? Slowly that seed will germinate, and slowly they are convinced. Now, why is the church afraid? That we have to see. Okay, why is the church afraid to talk about this? You're afraid to talk about this, saying that if we all talk, already people are not coming to church. If we start talking about this, then people will be pushing people away. Now, my question is very simple. Okay, do you want more people, or do you want to preach the truth?
Reminds me of what Saint Pope John Paul II says. If the cost of preaching the truth reduces us to 12 again, we should be prepared for that. We should still keep telling the truth, even if it reduces us to 12. Today, we talk about, hey, there are so many Catholics. I have 1,000 families in my parish. I have so much of people have entered into Catholic Church, and we are going to talk only about utility. Like it's all about having more subscribers, having more followers. That is going to help you.
Correct.
That you fail to promote or preach about the truth. That is the tragedy today.
True. And I would like to just highlight something here, Kevin. Okay, very recently I was invited by a very one of the prominent religious
I saw that
Catholic
video.
our Catholic news outlets or media channels. Okay, and you won't believe. Like, I was first of all blessed to be invited, and that being said, almost a majority of the content that was very important and very boldly spoken about, majority of that was edited. Right
Hey,
now,
did you
that
did
means
you did you miss out anything? Because this show will not be cut.
no, I have ensured to know very
Are you
as you
sure that
said.
anything I missed?
No, we are on track. No issues. We are on track. Okay. So now, that being said, okay, as you said, I do think that even now, somewhere deep down, we think that the church thinks that, okay, this is very sensitive, we should not talk about this, but we need to come out of it. Okay, and that being said, even though the content was edited, it was like almost or 50% of the content was edited. I do honestly believe that, with or without our knowledge, the gospel is written in our hearts, and the gospel has a way of revealing itself in that 20 minutes itself. Whatever message was being put forth, that came out. That is the message to respect the sanctity of human life right from the moment of conception, and how abortion is murder. This message was resonated, because after the video came out, they put in the comments, said that we need to talk more about this. So that means the laity want, they're eager to know more about this. But then,
But
what about the
churches,
church? Exactly. What about the hierarchy of the church? Right. So now this is something, I would again try to put forth. We as lay people, now how we have the Kevin Mario show, we have all these things. Let us keep talking about this. We will put forth to our hierarchy. Why are you not talking about this, Father? We'll go ask our parish priest, Father, this is what is the situation in our own Catholic church. Why don't you try to speak this in your sermons? Why don't you try to do this in your sermons? So we have to be that prophetic voice. You said the prophetic voice. It will start with us, and then I think even the church can resonate. So it's high time we also be the prophetic voice.
you and I, what it says, even before you were formed in the womb,
In the mother's
I
womb,
knew you.
I knew you, and I assigned you
Appoint.
the prophet of the nations.
That is the role of the church. Today, we
Exactly.
have to be prophetic.
So true.
So, your final thoughts
Okay.
about this one aspect I asked about. You want to have kids, but then the fee is high, so you want to give quality life, so you restrict to one kid or two kid. What should be the counterculture here today?
Okay. So I honestly feel that we as Catholics, we have to live out our faith radically, right? And what do I mean radically is, we have the dogmas, we have the doctrines, so we have to live accordingly. See, today's outside world is so corrupted that we only need to protect our family. We only need to put barriers and protect our children. You know what rubbish our children are learning in
See, this reminds
the
me of
outside
what
world.
Pope recently said, Pope Leo, that parents are the first catechesis.
Exactly. It starts with the family, right? So it starts with the family. Now, very important aspect is, you defend your children or you educate your children. Are you willing to spend the time necessary to educate your children, right? Here is where homeschooling comes to place. How much of time are you willing to spend with your child? Give it the education that God wants you to give. That's why I said, what does Kasti Konubi say? The primary purpose of marriage is procreation, education of children. It is your duty to bring your children in faith.
It reminds me of the baptismal promise we take. Will you bring your children? Or I think is it for marriage? I think we sign the letter and say that I'm okay.
Correct,
I'm going to do that.
correct.
In that will you bring the children in accordance to what the church
Exactly.
teaches?
So in the faith, right? So now what has happened is, we all want a high cost of living, right? I want this, I want that. So what we are doing is, and we are more society driven. Okay. Oh, my son is studying in this school. My son is studying in this school. It has 35 IITs. It has this thing. So we draw that kind of pride, right? So that is the main reason we are sending to all these schools and all that. Now, this is the question that I would like to ask. when you yourself are not willing to spend the very much time needed to educate your child, when your child needs that personal attention, that one-on-one attention, imagine what will the secular world do. It's just a business. Education is just a business, right? They take 1 lakh fees, 1.5 lakh fees. What, they won't give the attention your kid needs. They will just confine it in a box. You will have 40 other children in the same class. Your child won't be given the attention it deserves. And even if your child asks a few questions, 1 or 2 questions, what will they say? Your child has ADHD. Sir, your child is asking a lot of questions. Sir. Your child is this, that. That is what is happening, Kevin. I'm saying, no, the main reason, this is why when I mean counterculture.
We have Catholic institutions run, right? What's the problem? We can send our children to a Catholic schools.
Catholic institutions are the worst, to be honest. Why? Because even they have fallen prey to what the secular world has put forth, right? Because you already have the curriculum. And the system itself is wrong. See, whoever is a part of the system is the problem. So that is why we say the countercultural way is you take charge as a family. As I told you, the family is a mini church. That's what Vatican II puts forth. We have to instill those values to our children. You have to properly teach them, and then that. What do you mean? That creative aspect of the child will slowly grow, slowly develop. I know many families, who the mother was working, and then they saw the child struggled so much in school. Schools itself. Here, I'll name the school itself in school. Okay. So much the teachers were not giving proper attention. The teachers were unnecessarily scolding the children. All these things. So what the mother did, okay, I'm going to take my child out of the school. At 7th standard, she decided to take the child out of the school, and she decided I will spend time and I will educate my own kid. And now the child, she aims to be a fashion designer, to do something in fashion and all that. And her main aim is to design clothes for women with a modest ideology, a Catholic clothing for women. So this is how homeschooling impacts. You aren't constrained to, okay, my child will become a doctor, my child will become an engineer, lawyer. No. The creative aspect of a child is very much encouraged. And this is why we need to homeschool our children. We spoke, this thing. Some say, if I cannot afford more than 3 children, school I cannot pay this, I cannot pay that. What do the traditional families do? As you said, the families who go to traditional Latin Mass, what do they do? Hardly 30,000 they earn. With 30,000, they are able to run the family in 20,000 itself. 5,000 they are able to give to the church, and 5,000 they are able to put forth as savings.
That reminds me, my grandfather had 8 children. All of them are well today.
Exactly.
All of them are well today. What
here
happened
is where
now?
the idea of frugal living comes. You are putting yourself, you want a higher standard of living. You are not willing to sacrifice something for the greater good. The preservation or the education of your children or the protection of your children is the foremost importance. We are not willing to do that. We are not willing to do that. Rather, what we do is, I want a higher standard of living. I want this. So what happens? Send your children to school, children to daycare. They are taking care of, your child is taken care by them. What happens? Your child is filled with all rubbish from the secular world. Just imagine now I say, you send your child to Caesar. He will return back as Romans only, right? He won't return back as a Christian. So if you want your child to be in the Christian faith, to know what Christianity is or what our faith teaches, you have to take the charge. That is the responsibility we are lacking. And that is a very big problem.
So you're saying that, better homeschool.
Homeschooling is a new norm. Better homeschool, I won't say. I will say this is the countercultural way of life. Homeschooling, and then specifically you taking charge of your family and ensuring that your family is properly brought up in faith. That is very, very important.
So therefore, it's like this. I read in Twitter about Catholics living in US, and recently also hear about some of the Catholics in living in Tamil Nadu, also in India also,
Tamil Nadu
who are doing homeschooling. Correct. That news is in the air already. Exactly. I'm trying to talk to them see how it works, because
I
there
can
are
get
there
in
is
touch
lab.
with you with a lot of families here in Chennai itself who homeschool their children, not traditional. They go to only Novus out of the thing. Families who attend our normal traditional Latin mass, sorry, not traditional Latin mass, the normal Novus out of mass, they homeschool their children. Lot of families are there in Tamil Nadu itself, in Chennai specifically. So I can definitely, if you are interested, I can get you in touch with them.
Sure, I think we need to talk
Yeah.
to them, converse, like what's the syllabus,
Exactly.
how do you go about it. I think this is what, like you said, radical living of Christianity should be. uh, yeah, there is a chance, like you go out to the world, you learn about it, but like you said, what is it that we are learning outside? We are getting to know so many other things which the world teaches, not the word teaches.
Correct.
And yeah, it takes a lot of sacrifice, like the father or the mother, they need to be there. They need to teach the children, or find tutors who can teach them language, basic of science, help them do the 10th and the 12th exams, pass through it. Of course, you need like laboratory facilities. And this makes me also to ask you another question. We are a social being, right? Now you're confining them to a home tuition. What about the social aspect?
Actually, studies say that children who are homeschooled, right, they are more socially open because they're creative aspect. They're not confined to a space. What is happening in a school? What is happening in a school is 1 hour, 45 minutes, you are just putting them in one corner and you're telling whatever the teacher says, you blindly listen to that. Okay. But what happens in homeschooling? The creative aspect of the child, that is triggered. Get it? So because of that, the child is more confident. But a person who is not homeschooled, the confidence comes down. That is one very important. That's why you see, I've spoken to homeschool children. The confidence they exuberate, the amount of knowledge they have, my goodness. You want to believe an 18-year-old or 17-year-old, he knows very deep theology. He was homeschooled, okay? He knows very deep theology, Christian theology, theology of the body, this
Yeah.
and that. So much they know. I am like, oh my God, which school did you go to? I was homeschooled. Oh wow, that is why.
Yeah, I was having dinner with Father Richie. Even our friend Philip was there, and Father was telling that, do you know theology about it? I said, Father, no. Hey, 15-year-old students know this. They were homeschooled.
Correct.
So I think it's a radical step. Even if I have to, I was talking to my wife saying that why not put our kid in homeschool? So let's see how things pan out. But like you said, the world is there to corrupt us, whether you're homeschooled or not. If one is not insulated in the word of God, in the truth, I think there is every opportunity that they can get deceived by what the world teaches us today. And I think this one thing deflates me most of the times. Look at the Catholic Church. Exhaustive amount of life. As I close this, there is one verse which comes to me again and again. John Gospel, chapter 10, verse 10. I would like to read that out. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly.
Abundance, true.
The Catholic Church is full of life, because Genesis 1:28 says that the first blessing ever given to mankind was, therefore, go, subdue, fill the earth. Multiply, subdue,
and
fill the earth. That is the promise of God.
Go forth and multiply.
That's what should be resonating in all our hearts. That's what should be told to people, that this is a blessing of God. Every child conceived in the womb is a gift from God, not by your own doing. It's just that a man and woman agreed, but it was God who decided. It was God who decided. Sebastian, it was amazing having you in the Kevin Mario show. There were so many things which was deeply touching, emotional, and I had really no words. I was caught up like anything. Like the way you spoke about the abortion and all those things. Thank you for being open. Thank you for coming to the show. Thank you for telling this to a lot of people who are watching this show. Thank you, Sebastian.
Thank you, Kevin, and thank you for having me. Yes.
So, friends, this needs to be shared. If you like it. If you don't like, put the dislike button. If you have any comments, be open about it. Tell what needs to be done, or your queries or anything to share. So that's a wrap from here. See you all until next time. This is the Kevin Mario Show.